What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here with yet another tier list. Today we'll be tiering Tottenham goalkeepers in the Premier League era. I'm really excited for this one. How are you guys doing?
From request, we've been requested it. We're going to be harsh. This is going to be a brutal one, but
yeah, this is actually brutal. So usually we have about 4 or 5 tiers. Today we've only got 3 tiers, and those tiers from bottom to top is Butterfingers to Safe Pair of Hands to Top Drawer. And let's get straight into this, and let's start off with Eric the Viking Torsfeld, who was at Spurs from 1992 to 1997. Bit before me and my brother's times. Let's start with you, John.
He's top drawer. In fact, I would say arguably the best goalkeeper we've had in the Premiership.
Wow.
I think he's
really.
Yeah, I
that
do
good?
actually. I do. I think he's better than Laurice. Yeah,
I remember in all the Spurs monthlies, a lot of people put him in their best ever Tottenham 11 as the goalkeeper. I remember that. But I know he's played in a few big games for Spurs. But I don't know. I've never seen him play live. I know he was on the cover of FIFA as well.
Yeah, exactly. 95 on the quiz.
Yeah.
No, he had a huge presence about him, and he was instrumental in our 91 Cup run. Winning the FA Cup. The fans ended up really loving him, and he was just like we haven't really had a goalie that's had that presence in goal. Do you know what I mean? We've had a lot of goalies that are sort of like a little bit smaller, quite agile, but they've got a lot of howlers in them, and they don't have that presence about them. Torsfeld had that. And I think that, in my opinion, he's our number one from the Premiership era.
Yeah, I think when I was getting into Spurs, it was kind of at the end of his career, and Spurs sold him or got rid of him shortly after that. So, yeah, I'm not really qualified to comment.
How many years was he number one for? Because he left in '97, but
he was there. Well, he was actually at the club from late '80s, I think, to '95.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So he obviously was there before the Premier League, wasn't he?
Even '96.
He was in the cup. He was in the goal for the cup final, wasn't he?
Yeah, for
in '91.
'91, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, for me, he's top drawer. Arguably number one on the top drawer as well.
Wow. All right. So Eric Torsfeld goes into the top drawer.
Top drawer.
Straight away, we got straight in with the top drawers. Let me know in the comment section below where you're putting Eric Torsfeld in this tier list. Next up, we'll start with you with this one, Simeon. Ian Walker, 92 to 2001.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him play a few times, but again, it's a tiny bit before my time. I was literally just starting getting to football about a year after he left. But I know he put in some. He's there for a long time. He was there for like 9 years, which is quite unbelievable when you think about it, because he's not talked about not that much around these parts. Like a great goalkeeper, but I think Safe Pair of Hands would probably be a fair place to put him. I think he put some.
Me.
Worse.
No, he's the worst goalie we've ever had in the.
You think he's the worst we've ever had?
By a mile, he is.
So how did he stay so long then?
Exactly. Ian Walker's the most overrated Spurs player we've ever had.
Well, early on in his Spurs career, though, he was quite well.
Here's the thing about Ian Walker, right? His kicking was like 10 out of 10, unbelievable kicking. His catching of crossing was fantastic. His distribution was fantastic. All these things were like maybe the best things we've ever seen. But actually being a shot stopper, the worst you've ever seen. It's like having a little kid in goal. He wasn't able to use his legs when trying to save the shots. He was like crouched down trying to always use his hands. He was like a little frail little tiny boy in goal, you know what I mean? And he's notably what's his name, Zola for England. He got like a few England appearances, and he let one in at his near post, which was like typical Ian Walker. For me, he was the player that frustrated me more.
How did he get called up for England?
I have no idea, mate. It's just one of those things where it really frustrated the hell out of me, because he kept getting picked for Spurs, and I kept saying, even at school, I was like 13, going, why is he still in the team? Please get him out.
So you say the best thing he did was that nude photo shoot he did. That was probably the best thing.
I don't remember this.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. He apparently did a photo shoot. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but
thing that sticks with me, Ian Walker, I remember conceding loads of goals to Chelsea. I remember that one game against Newcastle. Was it 6 or 7-1 against Newcastle? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I just remember goal after goal going in, and him just like laughing and smiling when goals go past him. Because I'll agree with you. I'll put him in Butterfingers. I just remember him being awful.
I remember him more at Leicester than I do at Spurs.
Oh,
really? He was terrible there.
Yeah.
I remember that.
No, for me, he's the most frustrating, overrated player that we've ever had at Spurs.
All right. So Ian Walker goes straight into the Butterfingers. Next up, Espen Bardsen.
I don't know really, because when he came to replace Ian Walker, he had a string of games. I don't think he played that many games, as far as I can remember. But I actually remember thinking, what a difference! This guy looks like world class. It's simply because of the contrast between him and Ian Walker. He was actually pretty good in one-to-ones, and he was actually putting in a lot of good he had a lot more presence about him in goal.
He only played 23 games for us.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't.
Can someone explain how he always manages to mangle his way into a Tottenham Legends lineup all the time? Espen Bardsen.
No.
Yeah, he was part of the list when the last game White Hart Lane. He came out at the end, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it's just a case of
Espen Bardsen.
I think it's just a case of who they can get.
But it's not the first time I've seen him in something like that. He always, whenever Legends come out, Espen Bardsen's name always mentioned for some reason.
Do you know what it was?
I'm telling you, I don't know how he manages it.
He's got Ian Walker to thank for that, because Ian Walker was so bad that like anyone that came in goal is going to look like a superstar.
I just remember back in that time, maybe like 98, 99 time, any time Ian Walker would come out and he would come in, I always thought he was a better keeper than Ian Walker.
Yeah,
always.
Exactly.
At the 125th anniversary, Bardsen was there, one of the legends that came out before the game. Remember that has a whole list of legends who came out. He was one of them.
It's interesting.
And the last game, White Hart Lane, he always seems to be there for some reason, even though he's never really played that many games for us.
It's a weird one. I mean, yeah, only 23 games or whatever for us, but I think that he was actually a competent keeper, and I would put him in safe pair of hands, even though he didn't play that many games.
What actually happened to him, and why didn't he?
I don't know what happened. He went to Watford in 2000. It doesn't actually say why.
I think he was just second choice keeper for most of the time.
Yeah, and I just think he was never considered first choice, so we just sold him, right?
Yeah, and he said after joining Watford, he lost his place in the team to Alec Chamberlain. Yeah,
I think in the grand scheme of things, he's probably a mediocre keeper. But like
he was in goal when Robbie Keane scored his first hat trick for Spurs.
It went for Everton.
Oh,
really?
That's interesting. Yeah. All right, so he goes into safe pair of hands for me.
Yeah, well, it's a tier up in it. So yeah.
Next up, Neil Sullivan, 2000-2003. Wasn't there for long.
Yeah, you think of Sullivan as a keeper who was there for a bit longer, but I think he was first choice for his first couple of years, and then he kind of lost his place to Casey Keller in his last year at Spurs.
Yeah.
And then interestingly moved to Chelsea.
Yeah, which was a very strange move, wasn't it?
And after they had all their money.
He was part of the original crazy gang at Wimbledon, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a very good keeper at Wimbledon. I think at Spurs, I remember he had a string of good appearances, especially when we won against Arsenal. I remember he got man of the match against Arsenal one time.
Even though we lost in the semi-final, and you said he made the mistake. I can't remember that, but I thought he was absolutely
against Arsenal.
He was saving
for
us
Chelsea.
Against Arsenal in the 2001 FA Cup semi-final. He was just like saving us all the time. He was just like coming out of wonder saves.
Yeah, I don't.
That's how I remember it anyway. I could maybe watch it back. It looks differently, but I remember thinking he's like just keeping us in this tie.
I remember against Arsenal, he seemed to step up his game quite often, Neil Sullivan.
Yeah.
But I think
he's not top draw though.
He's definitely not top draw. But he didn't keep his place for long, only a couple of years, and then he was dropped, so he couldn't have been that good.
Well, he was out for 2 years. He was our first team keeper for 2 years, and then he left in 2002.
2003 he left.
That's safe pair of hands for me.
Pair of hands.
Yeah, it's in the middle, isn't it, Neil Sullivan?
Yeah, I mean it's hard to put him above and it's hard to put him below, so I think it's a pretty fair mark. Sim?
Yeah. That's fine.
Casey Keller, 2001-2005.
Yeah, now it's my time.
Now Simmy's time.
Now we're talking. Casey Keller, he was a bit of an enigmatic keeper, wasn't he? He was like kind of all over the place a lot of the time, and he was one of those keepers who would pull off some good saves, but he also had he was very like a rush of blood to the head kind of keeper. He'd come out and kind of either bulldoze over a striker and give away a penalty or let one through his legs. He definitely wasn't a safe pair of hands.
Do you remember?
Yeah, but is he mediocre? Is he middle though?
He's a bit better. I feel bad giving him Butterfingers, but I think he is Butterfingers.
Do you remember that mistake where it just went through his legs
against Leicester? Yeah, he just completely went through his legs, like such a tame shot. But I remember in a few games, like especially against Man United, I remember he had a really great game, keeping us in it.
Whenever he had a good game, it was just a one-off game.
USA, I remember that, John. USA, USA, and he was actually he was USA's starting goalkeeper in the 2006 World Cup, which was after he left Spurs, which was interesting to think about. I think he was a decent keeper in his day, but you wouldn't call him a safe pair of hands. He's definitely a keeper who always had a mistake in him.
But would you put him in the middle range of our goalies though? Of all our goalies, would you Premiership goalies?
I do think he might be a bit of a Butterfingers.
Oh, so you think he's one of the poorer goalies?
Yeah,
I think so. I agree with that. I would put him in the bottom. Thing is, you can't call him a safe pair of hands, but I would put him somewhere in between safe pair of hands and Butterfingers.
Okay, we need another tier.
Yeah, but I think.
But to be
I'm
strict,
happy to go with whatever you think.
To be strict,
what do you think of Casey Keller?
To be strict, I'd put him in Butterfingers.
He was Butterfingers, but I don't know if he's in the very bottom tier. If you're not.
So he's like the top end of Butterfingers.
Okay,
top end of
Butterfingers. I can agree with that.
Yeah. All right, Radic Cherny.
Well, yeah, second string goalie. Yeah, nothing else to really say.
I mean, he wasn't Butterfingers, Radic Cherny.
I think he was one of those keepers where he actually... It took him a while to actually start getting games at Spurs. He was actually Spurs for like 2 years before he actually started playing fairly regularly when Robertson lost his form.
Yeah.
But I think he would be a Butterfingers because when he got his chance, he was stable for a couple of games and he just started making mistake after mistake. I remember there was one massive mistake he made. I think it was away at Slavia Prague just before the cup final, and he like literally a cross came in, he like dropped it over the line. I remember. I think Cherny never really got a chance, and it proved. I think after he left Spurs, he never really became first choice anywhere. Really, he was a QPR for a bit, wasn't great. I think he was one of those keepers who never made good saves. He was kind of like, if he didn't make a mistake, that was like a good game for him. He never was really one to save us.
As a keeper, who was better, Keller or Cherny?
Keller, I thought Keller. Keller was more all over the place, but at least you could...
He had some presence about him.
Yeah, you could expect him to kind of bail you out in some moments. Cherny was like, if you hit it either side of him, it's going in pretty much. But at least it's stable enough. If you hit it towards him, you might repel it.
I stand corrected. He is a Butterfingers. Radic Cherny goes into the Butterfingers.
I think we might have a few more Butterfingers in this
I'm
one.
not so sure about that. Next up, we're going to go for Paul Robinson, England's number 1.
Cool, this is difficult.
2004, 2008.
It's a shame, really, because he really lost his confidence around the time that ball bobbled over for England. And then you could see his confidence absolutely.
He never really got it back after that.
I was actually just reading an article in The Athletic, great article, but with Paul Robinson had a full-length interview. That was yesterday. Go check that out. He said after that Croatia game, he lost. He literally said that was a turning point. He just lost all his confidence. The whole media were banging on him, but it never stopped. Wherever he went to a away ground, they were giving him hell for it. And he said he didn't even do anything wrong. He said at the time, he said if it happened again, he would do the same thing. He would swing his boot at it because you can't predict a bobble on the ground. It's not like much you can do about it. And I feel so bad for him because he was number 1. His career was actually going on an upward trajectory ever since that moment. Ever since he joined Spurs, he was class.
He was flying.
He was flying. He became England's number 1 at Spurs. He was actually great for England as well. I remember he string of great performances. He had a decent World Cup as well, and he had 4 out of 5 clean sheets of the World Cup when he was there. And just one mistake completely derailed him. And it's such a shame. He had a great rapport with the fans as well.
We loved him.
Yeah, and I remember, I wasn't there, but it was a Valentine's Day, Slavia Prague away in the UEFA Cup. I think it was our first year back in UEFA Cup after so many years. And he was training outside with the Spurs fans. It was literally just him and the Spurs fans. And he was guiding all of them in the chants. It was absolutely brilliant. So he was like, "Stand up if you hate Arsenal." And then he recreated.
There's a video of it.
Yeah, and then
Just put it in.
I'll put that in. And
stand up. If you ain't Arsenal, 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 you know.
And then he recreated it at Ledley King's testimonial as well. When he was playing it, like the game was going on, and he would just like turn around to the crowd and go, "Stand up!
Yeah,
you hate Arsenal."
Here's a question: has there ever been a more lovable Spurs player?
The Paul Robinson,
yeah,
he's up there. He really is.
If you take away just the footballing side, so it's just purely on personality.
I think he's one of the, especially from a goalkeeper, especially in goalkeepers, he's one of the most loved. He's up there for sure.
Yeah,
and he speaks about it a lot. How much he he still gets love from Spurs fans, and how much he really appreciates it. And also, I think especially his first couple of years at Spurs, he was one of the best in the league at that time, and he was top draw at those couple of years.
Weaknesses though, weaknesses.
Coming for crosses wasn't great. He's a great shot stopper, but he wasn't that dominant in the box.
I think he didn't really come out enough. I think he stayed on his line a lot and left for the crosses for the defenders to deal with. Whereas like a Gomez, which we're going to come on to, was just like the opposite, wasn't he? Flying for
polar opposite, literally.
And I think you needed a little bit of a blend of both, to be honest. I think he stayed on his line,
especially after he's lost his confidence. That last year was tough. It was really tough. Especially you look at that 100, especially the 125th anniversary. First of all, Reading, when he carried the ball over the line, that was horrific.
Which was the 6-4 game.
No, I think it was the FA Cup game. I think it was a few month after. But the 125th anniversary, he made a couple of really big howlers in that game, dropping the ball for I think Martin Lawson to score. That was really hard to watch. You could see the confidence completely just drained from him. And he said once Ramos came in, that was it. He said Ramos just completely took him out of the team and didn't even speak to him. He said it was really Martin Jol. He had a great relationship with him, but he really was. He was top draw for those first couple of years. Then he kind of lost it a bit.
For me, top draw until that England moment, and then literally Butterfingers after that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I'll put him in safe pair of hands.
I think, yeah. I mean,
I think we should put him in top draw.
I never thought.
I think we should put him in top draw.
Because we love him, we want to, but I never saw him as top draw ever. Even at his best, I never saw him as that. You know, I
think he was like top 5 in the league when he was
exactly.
On
so
his day.
He's not
top draw.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. He was never like in the top 1 of anything. Top 5 is like, for me, that's a drop down a tier. But I do love him, but for me,
I don't think you can put him in top draw.
All right, safe pair of hands.
Because he's not as good as Laurice, I don't think.
Kudachini. We'll get on to Laurice in a minute, but Kudachini, 2009, 2013.
Yeah, he was signed kind of because Redknapp didn't trust Gomez. Pretty well. That was the only reason he was signed. And I think he was a pretty safe pair of hands. He never really made any howlers.
Yeah,
I think he was better at Chelsea than he was at us.
Obviously, he got Team of the Year at Chelsea.
Yeah, he was class. He got the Golden Glove one year, I remember.
And that save from Berbatov just still like.
Oh yeah, that still hurts. It does still hurt in that 4-4 right at the end. That was one of the best saves you'll see. But he was.
Berber should have finished that.
Yeah, we're still up. Yeah, it's true. But I think he never made too many amazing saves, never too many howlers. He was, I think, definition of safe pair of hands. Agreed. I think he was pretty solid.
Agreed.
Whenever he was called upon. He was never a number 1. He was a solid number 2.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, totally.
Now, this is the one I think is going to cause the most debate. Harelio Gomez. I love this guy so much.
Now, the thing is, we cannot put him in safe pair of hands. We just cannot put him in safe pair of hands. It's either top draw or his barking. It's one or the other. One or the other.
You can give two different takes. Yeah,
probably.
All right, I'm going to say this is controversial, okay? I actually think in 2010, that is the best performance we've seen from a goalie in the Premier League.
I agree with that.
Right?
I agree with that.
That one season, 2010.
I thought you were just going to give that the home game to
No,
Arsenal.
I'm saying that in 2010,
when we got
his
Champions
performances there were absolutely unstoppable. A lot of teams wanted him. Chelsea were like...
That is the definition of the octopus.
He was unreal that season. But if we're averaging it out over his whole performances... Well, I don't know if you can say he's the worst, though.
No, the thing is, that season I agree. I think he was actually the best keeper in the league that season when we got Champions League. He actually didn't. He made very few mistakes.
Yeah, he didn't make
that season. He was saving penalties. I remember he saved 3 penalties from Darren Bent that whole season. I remember that game against Arsenal when we beat them 2-1. Danny Rose scored.
Picking out the top,
the story of that game was Danny Rose, but Gomez. Wow, that's 3 of the best saves I've ever seen in a Premier League game.
That save from Van Persie's free kick.
It was unbelievable.
Like no other goal.
I've never seen anything like it. The saves he made. There's no one in the league that could compete with those kind of saves.
Season. So I actually think for one season alone, he's our best Premiership goalie.
For that season, he was top draw. There was no two ways about it. But how can you put a player in top draw that does
all the season before and the season after?
Look at those mistakes against Chelsea that time.
Yeah.
Do you remember those mistakes against Chelsea?
Against Chelsea when Drogba, when he fumbled it again. Yeah, I remember that.
And what about the one where he gave away 2 penalties in one motion?
Against Blackpool. Oh my God. He saved the penalty. He's so rush of blood and adrenaline. He goes and fouls the next minute from the following corner. He saves the penalty. Oh my God. Harelio, I remember that howler hit against Fulham very early on.
There were so many howlers. But these howlers, if you're talking about the howler, these are the worst howlers of anyone on this list.
Yeah, but he's also done the best.
And the best saves of anyone on the list.
So for that reason, I balanced that out, and he's going for
entertainment
in the
value.
Middle tier. He's going in the middle tier.
You can't say the name of the middle tier.
You can't say he's a safe pair of hands. You just cannot, because that is the opposite of what Gomez is.
He's not our worst goal. But look, I understand we've got these names as puns, right? Okay, but I'm not using those. I'm just thinking bottom, middle, top, and he's in the middle tier, isn't he? He's not our worst goalie ever.
I don't think he was never a middle of the road keeper. He was never. He was either at the bottom or at the top.
Yeah, I know, but you have to average it out.
But if you're averaging out, he does go in the middle. But it's just not right putting him in there.
I honestly think averaging out, he might be a Butterfingers actually. I think he might.
Then I'm going to say top draw.
How many seasons did he have at us?
He was only 3 because his 4th season he was there, but Brad Friedel was.
So it was 1 amazing season and 2 shocking seasons.
Pretty much.
Butterfingers, I'm afraid.
No, you can't put him in the
It
bottom
pains
tier.
me.
Do you remember when he
You
first
can't put
came,
Gomez in.
like his first 5 or 6 games, how many mistakes he was making was ridiculous. I remember against Udinese, I remember he like had the ball and he was like tackled and he rugby tackled the player and
He's
gave away a
so
penalty.
lovable though.
Oh, Gomez.
Such
No,
a
you've
lovable
got to
guy.
stick in middle tier. Come on, guys.
I think you got to put him in Butterfingers just because of how I can think of like 10 howlers off the top of my head like that Gomez did. It's just so
true.
unbelievable.
It's true.
Just
That is the
howler after
definition of Butterfingers. Sorry, John.
Think about it.
Why was Harry playing Gomez and not Cudicini then?
We had to bring in a 40-year-old Brad Fiedel to replace him.
why-
And to just be just some stability, an essence of stability.
You said he brought in Cudicini because he didn't trust Gomez. So
Correct.
why was he not playing Cudicini and why was he?
He was playing Cudicini.
No, but why was he playing Gomez more?
Because Gomez had just had more about him.
Exactly. So
did.
we've already put Cudicini in the middle tier. So why are you
Correct.
picking Gomez 1 tier below Cudicini? That doesn't make sense.
Because Cudicini was the definition of a safe pair of
Yeah,
hands.
exactly.
That
he was
is
like the yin to the yang of Gomez.
But it's not
And
about
Gomez for one season
Yeah.
was at top draw. Agreed? The
Yeah,
other two
yeah,
seasons,
definitely, yeah.
he was not a safe pair of hands.
No.
But I still think I would rather have Gomez in goal than Cudicini.
I'm not so sure about that.
I don't know.
The
I don't know.
I'm saying the Cudicini we had and
Maybe.
the Gomez we had, I would have put Gomez ahead of Cudicini.
Or even with all those mistakes.
Yeah, well, Harry Redknapp was doing it.
Yeah. But
He
I
knows
think we
more
have to
than
be in
us.
Butterfingers. I think so. I think
Oh,
we have
man.
to. I think you've been overruled, John.
I think that's harsh.
It is a bit harsh. It is a bit harsh, but it's how
it's
this
very
is
harsh, but we said at the beginning
I
this is
don't
going to be a
agree.
very
We're
harsh
gonna be
judgment.
harsh.
No, I think
Exactly.
for me he's middle tier.
we've done
All right, well,
double.
John says safe pair of hands. Me and my brother say Butterfingers. Let me know in the comment section below
Divisive.
where you're putting Harelio Gomez. Next up, Brad Friedel, 2011-2015.
Safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, I think that's
That's
the
just a-
easiest choice we've
There's just
ever
not
made.
much you have to say about that
People
one.
forget
It's
he
just-
actually kept Laurice out of the team
He
when
did.
Laurice
For the
first
first
came.
few games,
and he was
yes.
not
Yeah, no,
because
he played
Laurice
well.
was bad. It was like Friedel
he-
was playing so well. You couldn't drop him.
Yeah. But
Even
then they
at
did,
that
yeah.
game when we for our first win at
Yeah.
Old Trafford, 3-2,
Incredible.
Friedel was
Yeah.
in goal for that
Mm.
because he was just playing so well.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
he was solid for that season when we finished fourth. I think he deserves it. Safe pair of hands. He was a solid keeper.
Yeah, that is a definition of safe pair of
Safe,
hands. No
exactly.
more, no less,
Yeah.
just solid.
Friedel was solid.
Michel Vorm, we signed him in 2014.
Well, you're going to have to say bottom tier, aren't you?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I think, I think so. I think in his first couple of years, whenever he was called one, he was pretty solid. But after that,
Do you think if he
Make
doesn't
all
play
mistakes.
those FA Cup semi-finals, we're still putting him in the bottom tier?
we only played one FA Cup semi-final, didn't he?
Wasn't it two?
He played one against United. I don't think he played the other
Did he
one.
play the one against Chelsea as
No,
well?
Laurice was in goal for that one. I think, he made a mistake for that one. And he's made a few other mistakes as well.
I think that we've never really seen Vaughan because he never really gets a string of games to build his confidence. He's the sort of player that needs to get his
But
games
he was
up.
already starting to lose it at Swansea when he came to
Yeah.
us. That's the truth. I
At
think
the end of the day, he
was-
got brought in as a backup keeper, no more, no less.
Yeah, but I think most of the times when he was called upon, he hasn't been that great. He had a few good. I remember
He had
Liverpool.
a few
Liverpool
unbelievable
at
games,
home.
but-
I remember
yeah.
one year he was
Yeah,
man
but-
of the match.
yeah.
It
But
was
you
great.
could probably count the good games on
One
three
hand.
fingers.
Yeah, true. So I think
Oh,
Butterfingers
you
for
have
me.
to put bottom
Yeah.
list for that.
Gazzaniga, this is going to be an interesting one. I think he goes straight into safe pair of hands.
Yeah, safe pair of hands. I think he's a solid. He's a solid keeper. I think
Yeah,
he got found out a bit when he had that long string of games when Laurice was injured.
Exactly. I think exactly that.
He's not the best shot stopper.
And he doesn't, you know what he doesn't do well enough? He doesn't cover his tangent lines. Do you know what I mean by that? Whereby, you know, when a goalie comes out to block out the angles of
Yeah.
the goal, right? He doesn't do that well enough. And he also stands too close to his near post because I think there's this thing about he doesn't really get done at his near post.
Either he's been done at his near post a few times.
Yeah, so
still.
maybe that's why. But he isn't getting those tangent angles.
He's
for
not
it,
very
right?
good at
His
getting
position's
down
not
loads of
right.
shots as well. He's
But
like Laurice.
His distribution second to none. Really is.
Mm.
I think it's one of the
It's
best
so was
distributions
Ian
we've
Walker's,
seen in a
though.
while.
Yeah.
It's much better than Hugo Laurice, that's for sure. His distribution.
I think he's a good
He's
shot
got assist
stopper.
for us, hasn't he?
Who does?
Gazzaniga?
Paolo, I don't know if has he got an assist? Maybe.
Maybe
I
not an
think-
assist, but that one against Arsenal when Ali wasn't that an amazing ball up to Kane and then Kane knocked it through.
Yeah,
to Ali?
yeah. That game, that Carling Cup game, he had a couple of good long kicks. That's true. But I think Paolo, he's a solid shot stopper. He's good at coming for crosses, but he's not. He's not definitely not top drawer.
I don't think he's good enough to be first choice goalie.
No.
So
I
for
think
that
s-
reason,
I think
I'm
safe pair of
going to put
hands.
him in the bottom.
You being
Bottom?
bottom?
Yeah, because
really,
he's not
Butterfingers.
because he's not a first choice goalie. For me, any
That's a
goalie
fair-
that,
fair-
any
that's
any
fair.
goalie that's sitting on a bench and not good enough to get in the first team, it's not going to make the middle tier for me.
Yeah, but
And we
you've
only
got
put
to see
Coutinho.
who you're putting him up against as well. You're putting him up against Hugo Laurice. It's not like you're putting him up against Ian Walker.
But if he was good enough, he'd be in that team.
And Espen Bardsen we put in safe pair of hands, and he was sub for Ian Walker.
Yeah, I don't.
And Ian Walker was
I think safe
perfect.
pair of hands. I think safe pair
Okay,
of
no,
hands.
you're right. If we put Espen Bardsen in, then you have to put him in with him there. I'm just thinking there's this thing about, I know we talked about Llorente, but for me, a player that gets bought to sit on a bench can't have that expectation of being a good player because
Not
they're
true.
there.
Was Solskjaer a good player?
Well, he was the first team. He scored in the Champions League final.
Yeah, from the bench.
Yeah, but him and Sheringham formed a partnership, didn't they?
Yeah, from the
bench.
bench. Yeah,
the following
Solskjaer was a
season-
bench player. That's
the
what it
following
was. He
season,
could be
they
a
were
bench
first
player and
team
be
players.
crucial to the team.
Well, 34-year-old Llorente. Anyway, yeah, no, for me, but we have to really weigh all that up, But I'll be happy to put him in.
I think safe pair
hands.
of hands. I think he's a decent keeper.
And last but not least, Hugo Laurice signed him in 2012, straight into the top drawer. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Top drawer. I think he's
Any
a fantastic
comments?
keeper. I think World Cup winning keeper, captain.
His distribution lets him down, and
Yeah.
errors in big games as well.
I don't think he's good enough in one-to-ones. He doesn't have a
One-on-one
big enough
situations.
presence. I think he's a little bit of a Fabian Barthez, if you know what I mean. He's quite small. I know you said he's 6'1" or 6'2", but
6'2",
when I
yeah.
look at Lloris, I think you're not tall enough. You're not big enough to be a top goalie. You know what I mean?
I think
He does have like cat-like agile saves in him, and especially 2015-16, I think
he
peaked.
flies through the air at times.
Yeah, he flies. He's very good getting down low. He's one of the quickest goalies I've ever seen getting down
he
low.
collapses his body unbelievably quickly.
Like the penalty saves that he does,
Yeah.
he tends to always go down low. He always predicts down low in penalties, and when they go that way, he always gets to them. So that's absolutely first class with that. I don't know what else you can
He's
say.
he's
really.
great at coming off his line. I think coming from balls over the top. I think he's a good rush keeper. I think he's not the best at coming for crosses and stuff like that, but I think his shot stopping and his reflexes are honestly one of the best in the league.
Do you think that his role as a goalie's changed since we first got him? Because when we first got him, I noticed he was like a sweeper keeper.
Yeah, he's
Remember
not
that?
as much as that
we
anymore.
We don't really see that so much anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Why
I think we've been burnt quite a few times with him running out and
Yeah.
like fouling a player or.
It
or
used
what
to
have
be.
you.
I think at the beginning, it used to be that he used to come out and then like 9 times out of 10 he would clear the error, and then once in a blue moon he would make a mistake. But I think it's as you mentioned before in previous videos, our team has dropped deeper. Right, we've been going back. We haven't been pressing as high, so there's obviously less. He's not going to be coming out if our defence is already there.
No,
if
you're right.
our line's not as high,
he stopped
there's
doing
not as
it.
many balls over the top.
No, I know, but he stopped doing that even when we were the high press team. I noticed. I noticed he stopped doing it in around 2016.
Okay, I don't know about that. I think he was still doing it before, a bit after that. But I think this is a goalkeeper who's been probably, you would say, our best keeper in the Premier League era for sure. I think well, mate, you could argue Torsford, but I think he's had an amazing Spurs career, he's an amazing international career. I think I know he's made a few mistakes, but I still think he's up there with the best.
That's what for me is that it's not even the mistakes; it's the high-profile mistakes.
He's made a few, but he's also made some high-profile saves.
But as I said before in other videos, I don't think
as
he
a
saves
keeper,
you.
you're remembered for your mistakes.
He doesn't save you in those big games. I know he popped up like some penalty saves in like Champions League and stuff like that, but I actually think that he, like when you watch De Gea and those games when he was world class, he was just like a beast in goal. Do you know what I mean? Like you couldn't get past him. Nothing could get past him. With Lloris, he does pull out some really good saves, but you do feel like he's not gonna really just
you always
save
feel
you
you
in
can
those
get a
games.
goal past him.
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. That's the difference with Lloris. But I still think he's a quality guy. Torsford wasn't at his best, towards when the Premiership started. So I think you could say that Lloris is our best goalie in the Premiership era. Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. That is the tier list for our goalkeepers in the Premier League era. Thank you very much, Simeon and John, for joining yet again. Like, subscribe and comment, and let me know where you think everyone should fit in this tier list. I know it was a very strict one because of only 3 tier lists, but let me know in the comment section below. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.